talked about looking at your personnel of this team. Obviously, you're watching when you were coaching with the Patriots. You're watching the defense, but now that you've been able to look at the offense, what do you see in terms of what's here that you feel like you can build on?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I'll say is that although being in New England, that we were concentrating because I was an offensive coach, obviously, on the defensive personnel from Miami. It's hard to not recognize, being a competitor and being in the division, those players offensively that we have looked at just by being in the division. So I've definitely had some familiarity with those guys, have a lot of respect for them, of what they've accomplished. We're still in the process of that right now. Obviously we haven't been here very long together as a staff, so we're still in the process of our evaluation of those players, and I'm very excited. It's an exciting part of the process, is to identify, hey, who are your guys you're going to be working with, because ultimately what's most important is how we utilize the players that are here. And the most important players are the ones in our building right now.
What are your thoughts on Tannehill? You obviously played him for 7 years, in terms of what he can do and strengths and things that he needs to improve on if he's going to be here.
Yeah, I mean, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Ryan. Obviously, because we've been in the division, we've had the opportunity to have exposure to him, and I've always had a lot of respect for his competitiveness. And as it is with our entire roster right now, we're just trying to do a lot of catch up to try to look at the personnel at all positions and really identify, again, there's a lot of strengths on this offense. But I definitely have had a tremendous amount of respect for Ryan and what he's done competitively within the division.
Outside of the competitiveness, what traits does he do or have that you say, hey, this is something I can build on?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't want to get into specific traits, weaknesses or strengths. I think, again, this is a kind of an ongoing process. Ryan's been somebody that's been a problem for us defensively at New England because of his athleticism and, being able to be somebody that can not only throw the ball but be able to extend plays. And I'm speaking for someone that's been on the other side of this, that's had to compete against him. There's definitely some traits that he has that are unique that, maybe the next guy doesn't have. And I would say that he's one that we always had a lot of respect for when we played him defensively at New England.
With speaking generally about quarterbacks, moving forward, what do you envision the Chad O'Shea quarterback looking like?
Well, I think the most important thing in our quarterback moving forward here, whoever that is that we want great traits in that player. The intangibles are most important to us. Obviously, leadership is very important, work ethic. Some of the traits that we've identified, and we've done this as a staff here in this week, is to try to identify traits in each position that we want to be proud of as a Dolphins player on offense. And I think that the quarterback position is a unique position because there's a lot of pressure that goes on with that position, and he has to be your greatest ambassador on your football team. He carries the message that you want to have offensively. He obviously carries the ball with him, as far as on every down. So the intangibles to us on offense at that position are important, as they are other positions. We've tried to identify what characteristics are most important to each position moving forward here, and I think it starts with the traits of the players.
I know there's been discussion about completion percentage is something which you value. Would you put that high in your list of things you want in a quarterback? Anything else you'd put high on your list?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of things that you want in a quarterback. One of which is accuracy. And obviously there's a lot of things that go into accuracy, and I say it's just not the quarterback. It's the guys around him. It takes all 11 to be an accurate quarterback. I strongly believe that. It takes great protection. It takes the receivers to be dependable and detailed and disciplined in the pass game to allow a quarterback to be accurate. So I think that sometimes the accuracy gets put just on the quarterback, but I think that it's something that takes contributions from all positions to allow a quarterback to be accurate.
Chad, one of the things that Brian really believes in is basically changing pretty much what you do week to week based on the opponent's set of philosophy you share?
It absolutely is. Brian and I share a lot of the same philosophies, one of which is being very team-oriented, but offensively our vision is to do whatever's required to be successful that week. We absolutely want to have a core of set of things that we do well, but we're also going to have the ability to adjust on a weekly basis, and I think that it's important for the coaching staff to have the mindset that we need to be able to adjust, and our players also need to adjust, and that's an important part of the offense, is the ability to be multiple, to not be a specific scheme, but again, it goes back to we're going to do what the players do well, and what are their strengths. We always identify what they can do, not what they cannot do, and then game plan or set up our offense according to that.
Do you believe it's more demanding on the players, requires more of them to be cerebral?
Well, I think when you have a multiple offense, it does require the players to spend extra time in preparation. But in the end, we're doing what's best for the players, and we're doing, most importantly, what's best for the team. So I think that the players in the past, when we've been in a multiple offense, have always embraced that challenge, because in the end, they know that we're trying as a coaching staff to do what's best to put them in the best position to not only succeed individually, but most importantly, our vision is to succeed as a team.
Chad, I know Stephen Ross has spoken about rebuilding, which can typically mean a younger roster. Have you and Brian discussed Danny and whether you want him here? Because obviously you value him, but
right.
He's an older player, a team that's going to go younger. Do you all know yet, do you want him on the roster?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely still in the process of, the evaluation of our own team. Obviously now we're in the evaluation of other free agents and now the college draft. So I know that we've worked extremely hard. It's an exciting part of the process here is to identify those players. Danny is one of the players that's currently on our team that I have familiarity with, and Danny's been a tremendous player for us in the past. I know he means a lot to a lot of people on this team and in the organization, and one of which we hold in very high regards. But we're still in the process of evaluating the entire roster and seeing what's best for the Miami Dolphins.
Is there any player on your roster, skill position-wise, that you've seen enough to even speak generally of beyond Danny, obviously, among Albert Wilson or Jakeem Grant or Mike Gesicki, Kenyon Drake? Is there any you're comfortable
I would say,
discussing?
yeah. I mean, we've invested a lot of time. The first thing we did is prior to any planning of scheme and what we're going to be offensively, it was most important to identify what we're working with. So we've spent a tremendous amount of time here this week and really evaluating our roster, especially the coaches that are not familiar with those guys, working with them. Now, obviously, we've had a lot of exposure. I've had exposure to them in the division and seen them from afar and really had a lot of respect. But I would say, as a group, it's a very exciting group for me looking at it, for our coaching staff, because there's a lot of things these guys do very well. Not to talk in specifics, but I see the strengths of this group, and I see that there's going to be a lot of things that we'll be able to utilize and really take advantage of what they do well and really kind of put it a part of the offense to try to help us win.
And with Albert Wilson, I know one thing Adam Gase did was he was able to maximize his abilities, using him in the running game, all different ways. Do you hope to do likewise?
Yeah, I think with the players, our philosophy on the players is we're going to use every strength they have and utilize those. And I know a lot of the players that we've identified, speaking of the skill position, have done a good job in a lot of areas. So I think that's our job, and that's our responsibility as a coaching staff, is to really identify those strengths and put that into action by what we ask them to do.
Chad, I walked over here late, but just talk about how much will you be bringing what you've learned over the past few years here and implementing that, because obviously what you've done in the past have worked very successfully.
Right. I mean, I think that there's a lot of experience on this offensive coaching staff, and there's a lot of expertise. We have a veteran coaching staff offensively, And I think we've all had things we've done in the past that we think could be successful moving forward. So I think what we've done here recently is try to merge those ideas and really have everybody's kind of philosophies come together. But certainly what we did at New England, we were fortunate to have a lot of success, and we were fortunate to have really good players within that scheme. And there's certainly some things from New England that will show up here as part of our offense, and there's things that are going to show up from some of our other coaches that have been other places that are also going to show up as a part of this. So I think this is a collaborative effort, and I think that you're going to see an offense that is going to be multiple, an offense that's built upon the things that we covet so much, and that's being able to play team football and to be able to be fundamentally sound and to do all those things right before we can do anything else.